I'm Ken Davis from Davis Consulting. We're structural engineers, and a lot of the work that we do has to do with coming in and designing underpinning projects just like this one for clients and architects and contractors. And as you can see on the walls, we have the underpinning sequence, which is laid out, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the idea with underpinning is that you basically extend the footing of the house lower by installing a sequence of concrete segments so that the foundation wall can be then dropped to a lower level to support the soil that's wanting to push it to your basement and to allow your contractor to lower the basement floor. This black sheet you see over here is installed so that if there's a little bit of water leakage between the underpinning sections and the bottom of the foundation wall, that water stays behind the plastic sheet and discharges under the basement floor, under the new floor, into the gravel layer which is being installed. And of course, within that gravel layer are weeping tiles, which will discharge any water that collects to a drain. In this case, the floor has been lowered by about 2.5 feet, which is fairly typical. It's probably a bit more than average, but fairly typical. And also, all of the interior walls in the basement have been removed. So before this work started, there were concrete block walls which separate the basement into different rooms. They've all been removed and replaced basically with steel beams. So the locations where these new steel beams are roughly coincide with where there were bearing walls in the past. And this one is a little bit more dramatic than some, in the sense that this is a fairly wide house with fairly long spans, so we have a couple of really heavy steel beams that have been installed. And the key to getting this work done right is to make sure your contractor provides proper temporary support for the floor above while the new footings and beams are installed. But it's all very doable. And as long as you follow the proper procedures when you're underpinning, it can be done safely and at a fairly... on this end of this new steel beam that's been installed, we had to design and install a new steel post with a new footing. Because of the location of the stairway and the location of the bearing wall that was here previously, we had to bring the steel beam across, but naturally we couldn't cut it right through the stair, or that would have fouled up the homeowner's layout. So the end of the beam is supported on a steel plate, which is, and the steel column, which is bolted atop together. And then of course down below, you have to remember that there's a lot of load now carried in this post, and a new concrete spread footing has to be installed in order to carry that load, to spread the load out over the soil. Now, this isn't always necessary. For example, here on the other side of the house, there's nothing interfering with taking this beam right to the exterior wall, which of course has always been load bearing. This is actually a concrete block wall that was existing, and in order to carry the point load or the end load on that beam on this block, it was important to remove a few of those blocks and to fill that area solid with concrete. Because of the concentrated load, we have to do that to make sure that the blocks don't crack or crush locally. But with that pad in there, that spreads the load out over a larger area to a point where the existing concrete blocks can